All right, everybody, welcome back into the RTI Reaction Show. My name is Rick Butler. That is Ryan Shumpert, sitting here talking on a Saturday afternoon about a little Tennessee basketball as the Volunteers go to College Station, Texas, and pick up a huge top 10 win over Texas A&M by a score of 77-69. Man, what a thrilling game, really. I mean, this one went down to the wire. It was back and forth throughout the final 20 minutes. Texas A&M had a chance to make a push there at the end, but Tennessee was able to make a couple big shots there by the hand of Zakai Ziegler. But all in all, Ryan, a thrilling game from College Station here today.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to your point, Jordan Gainey hit a three with 2:28 to play that put Tennessee up by 6 points. That was the first time since about the 18.5-minute mark in the second half that the game was separated by more than one score on either side. So a
Yeah.
game where A&M jumped out to an early lead, and then Tennessee, really with the hot shooting and Chaz Lanier, got back in it. And it felt like from really the 8-minute mark, maybe the 10-minute mark in the first half on, it was back and forth, neck and neck the entire way, with neither team really gaining any separation until, like you said, Zakai Ziegler hit a big triple in the last 20 seconds to basically ice the game.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, that's what you would expect out of a game between the 6th and 7th ranked teams in the country. And this one just so happened to be on the road in College Station. Tennessee needed a little bit of an extra gear. While it didn't necessarily come in the first couple of minutes, you were a little bit maybe worried about Tennessee's shaky start. I believe maybe they had 5 turnovers in the first 10 minutes of the game. But as that was going on, Chaz Lanier was just starting to heat up. Ryan, you mentioned it. You alluded to it a second ago. I believe he was 6 from 7 from the perimeter in the first half, but he finishes 8 from 13 from three-point range overall, 10 of 18 from the floor for a season-high 30 points. Just one more than he scored against Arkansas in the SEC opener, but that one was in Knoxville. So again, this was a huge performance for Chaz Lanier to go on the road and do what he was able to do. And again, I know that you might look at it and say, all right, well, only 2 3-pointers in the second half, but those 6 to get Tennessee going, to get that momentum going, especially after a hot start from A&M. That was huge for Tennessee. And then again, being able to hit a couple of big mid-ranges, had that left-handed dunk that I think had people wowed watching their television sets at home. Just a phenomenal game for Chaz Lanier out there on the court.
No doubt. I think, like you said, the bad start. First 2 minutes of the game, something to that extent. A&M's first offensive possession, they get 2 offensive rebounds and get a dunk. Tennessee turns it over on 2 of their three offensive possessions, first 3 offensive possessions, both lead to transition baskets. So it's 6-0 A&M right at jump. The things you knew Tennessee couldn't do to win this, if they're going to win this game, they were struggling with. And it was Chaz Lanier that, like you said, got him going. Tennessee made 3 baskets from the field in the first 10 minutes of the game. All 3 of them 3-pointers from Chaz Lanier. Jordan Gainey, Igor Milicic had a couple free throws in there to give him some other points. But they were slow to get going offensively, even past those first couple possessions. And Lanier shot them into the lead in the first half. And you're right. I mean, he's a very streaky scorer, just by the nature of it being so much 3-point shooting. But even the 2 shots he hit in the second half were both really big shots. And, one of them was the first 3 Tennessee had hit in the second half. And I think it tied the game, I want to say, about 10 minutes into the second half, in a spot where it felt like the game wasn't slipping away from Tennessee. They needed to find another gear. And all those things were really important. And then it was really important that he played well, because Zakai Ziegler, for the first 25, 27 minutes of the game, did not play very well.
I'm sitting here trying not to laugh right now. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it. It's kind of going away now. I think there's a helicopter above me right now. Like, I really think that there might be a helicopter above me. It is crazy loud. Hopefully it doesn't bleed through, but you're right. And again, he provided Tennessee with that spark to get things going. You're right. There was that one point where you look down and you're like, all right, well, Tennessee's got a couple makes from the free throw line, but yeah, Lanier's got the first 3 buckets of the game, and they're all from the 3-point line as well. We mentioned that Chaz Lanier had that big first half, 22 points. I thought that it was Lanier's first half that really set Tennessee up in a good position, but then it was Zakai Ziegler's grittiness and gutsiness that got them to the finish line in the final 20 minutes. He finishes the game with 16 points, just 2 of 6 from the floor, but a critical 10 of 12 from the free throw line. He was just really important. He was that engine for Tennessee down the stretch. And then you go to the last 4 minutes of the game, being able to draw those 2 fouls was incredibly impressive. And like the broadcasters were talking about, that was a situation where if you go to the rack and you get some contact, you're probably going to get a free throw there. So for Tennessee and Zakai Ziegler to be able to identify that, kind of take that in and factor it into the close of the game, I thought that was really impressive. But you talk about Chaz Lanier shooting in the first half. I think you talk about Zakai Ziegler's gutsiness there in the final 20 minutes.
Yeah, I tweeted with about 13 minutes left in the game. Guy Ziegler playing maybe his worst game in the season. Bulls have no chance if he doesn't play significantly better. From that point on, he scored 13 points, 4 assists, no turnovers, blocked a three-pointer, away
Yeah.
Taylor three-pointer up 3 in the final minute of the game, and then obviously it hit the dagger 3. So,
Significant.
significant, I would say. And that's what you're looking for. That's what you expect from a guy that's been through the battle, is that he can not be bothered by a bad 27 minutes, a bad 30 minutes of basketball, and get right in the finish. And that's what he did. And it was huge. And, Tennessee shot 8 of 13 from 3 in the first half, did not shoot nearly as well from the second half. And A&M's so good defending the rim. And Tennessee's not a very good rim offense team. They needed Ziegler to kind of put his head down and get to the basket. And the game turns. I couldn't pinpoint a moment, but it just started being called a lot of fouls, and it was both ways. Wade Taylor was getting to the line. I think Ziegler did a good job of noticing how the game was being called and got a lot more aggressive trying to get to the basket and drew some hand checks. Was able to get to the foul line. So that was really big. And the other guy I mentioned, Jordan Gainey, who, man, it just was in a brutal shooting slump coming into this game. He made 1 3, I think it was in the first half, that was after the shot clock expired, right as the shot clock expired. His first 3 of the game was wide open. He didn't hit the rim on it. And it's just like, man, he cannot get a perimeter shot to go, but he had a couple big baskets at the rim, and then he hit 2 just huge threes late in the final 6-7 minutes of the game that I think were a big turning point. So those 3 guys, Lanier, Ziegler, Gainey, they all scored 14-plus points. Nobody else from Tennessee scored more than 5. Those were the guys that carried Tennessee, and that's typically the trend. When those guys play well, Tennessee typically wins, especially Lanier and Gainey. Igor Milicic is streaky. We've talked about him maybe being the X factor for this team, but you kind of look at the results. Igor Milicic plays well in a lot of games. Tennessee doesn't end up winning, which isn't to diminish him playing well in those games. But when Gainey plays well, when Chaz Lanier plays well, Tennessee typically tends to win. I think 16-0 now when Gainey scores 9 or more and Chaz scores 18 or more, and they obviously got both those today.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about 60 combined points from those 3 players, 30, 16, and 14 from 3 senior guards. And especially in a game where you need to go on the road and you have an opponent who did have a 5-game win streak that was snapped last Tuesday, maybe a little bit of a vulnerable opportunity for Tennessee. They were able to go in there and capitalize again with those 3 scoring guards who put up 60 combined points on the day. Then you flip over to the other side of the box score, though, and you look at Wade Taylor the fourth. Now, he did put up a team-high 18 points for Texas A&M here on Saturday, but it was on 4 of 15 from the floor and 0 of 9 from three-point range. A lot of his damage that was done was sort of like Zakai Ziegler, 10 of 12 from the free throw line.
Well, pretty incredible. The 2 starting point guards in today's game made 6 shots from this field and scored 34 points. Now, this guy's credit, he only took 6 shots. So it wasn't like he scored 16 points on 6 shots taken. So he was pretty efficient. Wade Taylor took 15 shots and scored 18, 0 and 9 from 3, which I don't know if you said. I know you were getting to if you didn't. So yes, continue. But that was slowing down Wade Taylor, to your point, was a huge part of Tennessee's success defensively.
No, yeah, that's just what I was going to say as well. Just what Tennessee was able to do, and for a team like Texas A&M, who loves to take advantage of second chance opportunities on the offensive side of the court. If this was your first Texas A&M game watching this year, you certainly saw their ability to do that. To look at that and say, hey, that was 9 empty possessions. Now, maybe Texas A&M got something on the other side of it. I can't think of any particulars right now. But just to sort of limit him as much as they did, that certainly gave Tennessee continued chances throughout the game. And like you had alluded to, and especially in a game where you rarely have a 2-possession lead, especially in the last, 15, 20 minutes roughly of the game, those are game-winning type stretches, especially when you're talking about the other team's sort of, one of their best scores that they have.
No doubt. I mean, Texas A&M's offense is built on Wade Taylor hitting shots and getting offensive rebounds. And But Tennessee didn't really cut off the tap for Texas A&M, rebounding 14 offensive rebounds. I think it was a 39% offensive rebound rate, which is a little bit under, but not much under A&M season average, which are the best offensive rebounding team in the country. But the key was the defense after the rebounds. It was just 10 second chance points for Texas A&M. I think Fran Fraschilla said it there at the start of the broadcast that A&M has the worst first shot offense in the country and the best second shot offense in the country. So they're usually really good at not just getting those rebounds, but scoring off of that. They didn't really do that today. And I don't know if I can put my finger on like one thing that led to that. Certainly felt like a lot of dead ball rebounds, which was probably good for Tennessee, letting them set their defense. But just as a whole, Tennessee, when they did give up rebounds, they were ready to play defense and didn't let it turn into easy buckets. And I think when you look at those two things, not that it was just some unbelievable defensive effort from Tennessee, but a good defensive effort and slowing down Wade Taylor at least making him be inefficient in his scoring, and then limiting second chance opportunities or second chance points, I should say, rather than opportunities for Texas A&M. I think those are the two things I kind of circled as being really, really significant.
Yeah, and again, Wade Taylor's 0 of 9 is obviously going to play a big factor into it, but 17% three-point shooting from Texas A&M, that's going to be something that Tennessee can work with.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny. Anderson Garcia, he was 2 of 2 from 3, so he hit 40%.
And they came early, if I remember correctly, right?
Opened the first half, I believe.
Yeah.
He, entering this game, had made 9 threes all season and was shooting 25% from the three-point line. So, he's a guy you don't expect to make shots against you. He hit 2 against Tennessee early, and obviously Wade Taylor, who you expect to hit some shots, and certainly, he hit 4 by the first media timeout, it felt like last year in College Station, at least the first 6 or 7 minutes. For him not to make any, that was big.
Yeah, if you told me that Wade Taylor went maybe 2 of 9 and then Garcia went 0 of 2, that's maybe a little bit more believable. But again, you get to the same result either way. Ryan, this was a big one for Tennessee. Again, you're talking about a heated race right now in the SEC tournament, aiming for that coveted double bye. You're talking about a potential number 1 seed out there on the March Madness tournament, but I believe it's just 4 games left for Tennessee. 2 games left at home. That'll be the next 2 Saturdays with Alabama and South Carolina. But again, just to be able to go into Texas A&M, coming off of a bye, being able to show that strength and beating a rowdy team like number 7 Texas A&M, this was a statement victory for Rick Barnes' squad today.
Definitely, I think it's Tennessee's best win of the year. And look, Tennessee's been in most, if not all, of these bracketologies, the top 2 seed. And I kind of did a deep dive on it earlier this week with the open date and some of the scheduling and stuff. That what are their chances of actually getting a 1 seed? And I did think it was possible, but to me, for it to be a serious possibility, I felt like Tennessee needed to win today. They now have 9 quad 1 wins, second most in the country, only behind Auburn. A couple more big opportunities. Look, I just felt like today was the hardest game remaining on their schedule. Not that really any games are given in the SEC, but they go to LSU. They have South Carolina at home. Those are the 2 worst teams in the conference. And then obviously a road game at Ole Miss and a home game against Alabama. Those are tough games, but games Tennessee's very capable of winning. And now you can see the path to Tennessee potentially getting a 1 seed a whole lot easier now than I think you could even just earlier in the week when they were certifiably in the conversation for it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And what we know is that these final 2 weeks of the season are going to be fun. Again, there's a lot of things on the line right now, whether you're talking about the SEC tournament coming up in Nashville or the NCAA tournament coming up in just a little bit. But again, there's a lot of things to be talked about between now and then, and there's still 4 games to be played. Ryan, any other kind of wrap-up thoughts here today on Tennessee's 77-69 win over the Aggies right there in Reed Arena in an early game, an 11 a.m. local time tip-off. So Tennessee had to wake up early for this one. They were still able to get out there and get the work done.
Two more thoughts. I'll try to keep quick. Felix Akbar was questionable with a left ankle foot injury. He gave it a go. To me, maybe I'm reading into too much, but he did not look 100% to me. I did not think he had the same burst that he typically does. And not that he was great, but he did some good things for Tennessee. He grabbed 7 rebounds. And just with Tennessee's front court depth, it was going to be really hard for him to win this game without him going out there and toughing it out. And to give Tennessee 29 minutes, again, it wasn't his best performance, but he was solid. And I don't think Tennessee wins without it. And then lastly, we talked about the open date. How would that affect Tennessee? Would Tennessee maybe come out and shoot a lot better from the 3-point line, 13 and 27 from three. It's hard to say for sure whether that's just the nature of the open date or not. But
Yeah.
a little bit more fresh legs. Tennessee came out and shot well, and they needed to do that if they were going to win this game against a really good team on the road and a team that's really good at defending the rim.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the nicest way to raise that confidence level, to raise that statistic is for Chaz Lanier to be shooting with a little bit of confidence and a rhythm,
Yeah,
which
for
he
sure.
certainly did. So that always helps out as well. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Again, it's a big sports weekend here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Baseball also on the diamond in game 2 of their series against Samford. You can check out RockyTopInsider.com for all the latest Tennessee news, notes, and coverage as we are talking about this basketball game and the baseball series going on over at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. But otherwise, we're talking about a 77-69 win for number 6 Tennessee over number 7 Texas A&M over there in College Station, Texas today. That is Ryan Shumpert. I'm Rick Butler. You've been listening to the RTI Reaction Show. We'll see you back for the next one.